Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome in for the fourth and final time tonight. We already have our one big series out of the way. This one, though, not quite as heavy in implications, but very heavy for the two teams involved. Going to be Invictus Gaming taking on Vici Gaming. Now, pretty much the way this squares away, to reduce it down as simply as we can, and we will take a look at the overall standings to explain. If Vici beats Invictus and then goes on to win their last series coming up tomorrow, they will leapfrog from fourth place directly to second place, taking Invictus's place. Invictus will drop down into third, and DK will make the cut at fourth, with Tong Fu bringing up the rear at fifth. So a big difference in terms of the way the playoffs are going to feel for whichever team comes out ahead here today. Let's take a look at how they stack up in terms of the lineups, leading off with Vici Gaming. They play today 4-1. They've got 8 points under their belt, so their one loss, they were not able to notch a game win there. They're led by Fenrir, the support jungler, with ROTK in the offlane and Super in mid. 2-2, of course, on the carry position with FY on hard support. They're taking on a pretty stacked team on the other side of the river as well. That's Invictus Gaming. Now, Invictus this is their last match. This is the last time we're going to see them in action. We will have them coming up here in just a minute. And, of course, a lot of big names on this squad. YYF in the off lane with Hal on carry, Ferrari on mid, Banana in the support jungle position with Faith on the hard support. Now, they're at 5-1 with 11 points. Now, that 1 point difference maker. They did manage to notch that win there in their single loss. But the way it's kind of shaken out, the points aren't really going to matter, because the best that can happen is that Vici can, of course, tie Invictus. Vici, if they win here, they'll knock Invictus Gaming down. And if they win again, they'll be able to surpass them and take over that second place position. At the absolute worst, it could come down to a heads up, so IG should be safe if that's the case. So in all practicality, looking ahead to the last match the VG is going to have, not to say it's, not to put all your eggs in one basket. They do have one more match left against Rattlesnake, but Rattlesnake has struggled mightily, not just here but in other tournaments as well. And you have to figure VG going to have a very good chance to take that win tomorrow night. I'm your host here in AC Chambers, saying hello to you one more time for the day. I'll be joined by Ben Merlini Wu. As always, this is our fourth and final match. And, we're coming down the stretch here in the East. More than anything, though, today has been the big play day. There is one match tomorrow that could have major playoff implications. Other than that, just playing through the remainder of our schedule. So we're drawing down. If you just tuned in, though, we have our first grand finalist, one of the 4 teams that will be joining us in Las Vegas come January. That will be LGD Gaming, as they get past the DK, finish the season perfect, and eliminate any chance for IG to catch them. So IG no longer playing for first, but they're damn well playing for second. We'll find out if they're up to the task against Vici right here and right now. The draft's underway, so we'll be right back here on the HyperX D2L. Stick with us. Jumping right into the action, IG, two drafts deep. They've got Luna and Visage. IG, a team that really does prioritize the Luna quite heavily, as you can see, grabbing her up in those first 2. And, of course, Visage, arguably the most popular support in most of the East and the West right now. He's picked and banned very, very frequently. And I'm trying to think. I don't think I've seen a game in a while where Visage wasn't picked or banned. Vici has answered with the Timber Saw, nice mid-game presence. They'll look to pair him with something. Coming up in just a moment to break down the draft and, of course, lend his insight and analysis, as he has throughout the entirety of this D2L season. Welcome in once again, Ben Merlini Wu. And Ben, it's been a long day, my friend, but we're ending the day on a high note. IG versus Vici. This is a game that I feel like many might have overlooked, because Vici, people have wondered just how well they were going to be able to shake out through the tail end of 2013 and, of course, through our Eastern schedule. But they have looked phenomenal of late. They've really been on a tear. They're going to go ahead and grab the Shadow Demon to go with the Timber Saw. So a nice support that can roam or can be played defensively. But coming into this, I'd love to know the percentages. You're usually the guy who checks that out, because you're the rare betting Pete Rose of Dota. What are the fan percentages on who's going to win?
It's really close. Vici Gaming sitting at about 45 to Invictus Gaming's 55. The last time they matched up, it was, I believe, like 65-35 in favor of Vici, because that was when Vici was on a tear. They 2-0 DK. They I believe 2-0 to IG too, and then IG won the last series 2-1. So it's back and forth everywhere. Both of these teams are relatively inconsistent. They go into strong stretches, then pretty weak stretches, and right now Vici's in one of those weak stretches.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the weird thing is, you really hit the nail on the head. They have shown us flashes of true brilliance. When I say true brilliance, I don't just mean kind of good. I mean very good, as in stupidly good. But, and you look at the lineups, it reads like a who's who of Chinese Dota. Faith, Ferrari, YYF, on down even to players like Banana, ROTK, Super Fenrir, Siler, FY. These are all guys who have been on the biggest of big stages. And it's a little odd to see them struggling to really find their stride and in some cases find their identity. That in particular has been a bit of an issue with IG. But it does seem like the Chinese scene and these two teams in particular are beginning to settle down. And just the nature of Dota, the nature of gaming or competition in general, usually dictates you're going to have up and down streaks. And it's really just going to be all about which team, not just between these two, but, I mean, look at where LGD is. LGD has just been dominating pretty much everywhere, but these teams that we're looking at right now aren't capable of taking a game off of them and even a series when they're not riding as high as they are right now. So very, very excited to see how this is going to pan out because both teams are going to be bringing their A game. Like I said, the winner of this, ostensibly, I mean, assuming Vici will get a win over Rattlesnake come tomorrow, which, to be honest, I don't think is that much of a stretch. Assuming that's what happens, they're basically playing for the top slot in our bubble race playoffs, and that's going to save whichever team lands it a lot of trouble and a lot of games they have to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one I'm really excited to see this game though. It's going to be an exciting showdown. I expect it to go to 3-2, and unless one of these teams just busted out. We saw Vici Gaming with their two supports, FY and Ferner, just absolutely go on a tear versus DK. So I don't know what to expect from this game.
Dragon Knight going to be snagged up by Invictus, and that's going to be a dual core. And Luna, we've seen Lunas have a lot of success and be shut down pretty effectively as well. And a lot of times it comes down to just how much pressure you put on that Luna. Luna scales extremely well into the late game. She can fight much earlier than a lot of agility carries on her par of late game potential really can, just because the power of Eclipse. And, of course, the single target damage comes from Lucent Beam. But more than anything, her Lunar Blessing really can help her team take fights earlier on so long as she's present, but she does need the time to farm. She really works best in a split pushing role where she can teleport in after a fight begins and come in with an Eclipse middle fight, especially before BKBs come out. Having a hero like a Dragon Knight who's going to be able to synergize with other heroes, especially like a Visage, to put pressure on towers. Visage and Dragon Knight just by themselves are a formidable pushing combination. That gives her a little bit of space. That's going to allow them to prioritize just making things happen without her. And if she is able to show up in a reactionary mode, good. But more than anything, just being able to buy time for Siler to farm the Luna, a big deal. Or not Siler, but yeah, good luck.
Invictus Gaming has a way better push lineup too. Vici has to see this coming, and they'd probably ban out a Chen to be safe and draft at least one anti-push hero. None of the Timbersaw is decent, but I think you really need to, just in case things get a little bit hairy early.
Mm-hmm. The Storm Spirit pickup is certainly going to give Vici a lot of ability to take fights on their own terms. Having the Timber Chain from Timbersaw to allow him to get in and out of fights. Storm Spirit's ability to bounce in and out of fights. And Shadow Demon also very, very good at starting a fight on his own terms. If he spots a hero out in storms anywhere in the vicinity, he can simply disrupt, ping it out, and say, come get him. And so there's going to be a lot of aggressive potential on their side. The Nyx Assassin pickup kind of adds that to IG as well. I don't think it's going to be a quiet game at all. The Chen coming out for Vici, definitely not going to be a quiet game, as now both sides have push potential, both sides have pick potential, and both sides looking for a quick game one win with some high-octane aggression.
Yeah, and Vici actually picks up the Chen for themselves. I'm surprised that IG took the Nyx Assassin, but Nyx Assassin is pretty darn good versus Storm Spirit. So having enough lockdown versus Storm is always something that you need to have in a draft, and they are doing very well with that so far. I must say that I don't say I favor their draft, but it's still pretty solid.
The only issue I kind of have with it right now is when I look at Vici's lineup, they in small fights, they're not going to fare very well. I mean, Luna's going to have a nice amount of damage output no matter what her items are. Her issue usually is survivability before she gets up her late game items. Visage, though he got nerfed in 6.79, not nearly as survivable after that. He still has a mass amount of damage output. I mean, think about the burst they're going to be able to turn out between Eclipse, Lucent Beam, Visage's Soul Assumption, Dragon Knight with Breathe Fire, and Nyx Assassin with Vendetta. They're going to be able to burst down one, if not two heroes in just about every fight if they get the jump on them. But that's going to be Vici's test. Can they outmaneuver this Invictus Gaming squad, especially now that they pick up a Crystal Maiden? They have two phenomenal roaming supports. And that's actually probably, thinking about how they're going to run this, probably a 2-1-2 configuration of some sort. Otherwise, someone's going to be losing out big in that offlane, as there is no natural offlaner right now. Maybe an aggressive tri-lane with a solo safe farming Luna or something like that. But yeah, they have three supports, really, that are excellent at taking control of the map early. Lots of lockdown between Nyx Assassin and Crystal Maiden. Visage with Grave Chill to add a slow as well as burst on two of those three heroes. So Dragon Knight and Luna certainly have a very powerful supporting staff between 10 and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think I like IG's lineup a little bit more just because I think they have a slightly better 5-on-5 too with Mass Stun and Eclipse and Visage output damage. And if they get ahead in the laning phase, which they probably should considering their lineup, Visage very strong in tri-lanes. The Dragon Knight doesn't lose, but he's not that great. But if they get off to an early start, they can just push down towers like no other.
Oh, yeah.
Like Luna hits level 7, DK hits level 7, and they just can just start tearing up the map. So I am slightly concerned for Vici if they fall behind early, but they do have the Storm Spirit Ball. They do have a Chen and Shadow Demon for early game control.
But the only one thing that bothers me a lot for Vici is they only have one true stun, or true disable, I guess you would call it, in Super's Vortex. Yes, they have the disruption on FY, but I mean, that can work both ways. Sometimes you disrupt a target and you buy just as much time for IG to react as you do to get your team into position. Other than that, they've got the slow on Chakram, they've got open wounds. They're really going to be relying on Fenrir quite a lot, I think, to bring in nets, to bring in the stomps from the Centaur, to really add that extra bit of lockdown that they're lacking in their lineup otherwise. Because as you said, you compare that to IG. Mass Stun's pretty much the way to put it. I mean, you've got a true disable and Crystal Maiden's Frostbite. You're going to have the Dragon Knight with Dragon Tail, Impale, especially if it catches multiple heroes, very problematic. Then you've got additional abilities that just disjoint things. Even Lucid Beam, Eclipse, as you had mentioned, Visage with the slow on Grave Chill. There's just a lot of ways for IG to manipulate these fights, and VG gonna have to be on their toes from word one. Otherwise, like you said, IG's lineup does have a ton of snowball potential.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, looks like the matchup is going to be as expected. Nothing funky going on here. See Storm Spirit matched up mid, and nothing special.
I'm a little surprised to see YYF going solo offlane here. Like, and this is kind of what I was talking about. Someone's going to lose out, and it looks like they're willing to put Nyx in that situation. And we'll see how VG wants to handle it. VG does have a lot of kill potential coming out of this lane. I guess the reasoning behind this is there's a Chen in the jungle, and anytime that they really want to go on Nyx Assassin, they're going to have to commit him to doing it. It should be fairly easy for them to kill him when Chen comes out, but even if that happens, Chen is going to be losing time anyway. So if he just plays safe and soaks up anything, they'll probably view this as a win.
And FY Invis on bottom, he is trying to hug YYF. Is he going to actually be able to get a kill? Not without 6 disruption blocks, so just opting for some harass.
Yeah, a little bit of mana burn tossed out there from YYF, so first point going to go there. We'll run through our lineup, see who's handling who's. Starting on the side of VG, ROTK. Going to be on the off lane Timber, going to be soaking up as much as he can. There is going to be some kill potential coming out of this top lane once Banana begins to rotate, so we'll come back to him. Super on the Storm here in mid. Chen will be played by Fenrir, already getting to work here in the jungle with the Lifestealer, played by Siler, who open wounds his YYF. Bet he wishes he had Carapace right about now. There was a disruption to lead it off. Auto attack damage might be enough. It's going to, they got him. No, salve isn't enough. Not going to dive it. YYF look like
wow.
Yep.
Cell shield saves lives.
Looked like FY wanted to go for it there. But like you said, that's the second time we've seen a hero basically saved. Or actually, not basically, 100% saved just by that early stout shield
100%
pickup.
saved.
Yep. So, but got there just in time. Handy-dandy lineup run through. Got us there to see the action. FY will, as we saw, be playing on the Shadow Demon. Other side of the river, Faith lining up next to Hal. They're on Visage and Luna in respectively here in this safe lane. Ferrari 430 will be taking the DK mid. Nyx Assassin, as we saw, dodging a bullet and might have to dodge it again. He's disrupted. There's the Soul Catcher. Siler could not get in range to get off the open wounds. If he had, I bet he would have dove in.
Yeah, solo offlane Nyx is not something that we see very often, but I mean, it is pretty important for him to get levels, and he doesn't really need that much from him. What he really needs is arcane boots early, but we'll see if he's going to be able to farm that up. And it looks like we see a rotation from Crystal Maiden. Looks like ROTK in a lot of trouble.
Grave Chilled eats the Lucent Beam. They're pursuing him out. Timber Chain will be there. There's the Nova and the Frostbite to follow it. Lucent Beam back up. First blood on the board. And that'll be Hal who takes it. Didn't even have to spin that last Lucent Beam. Very nice start for him in this safe lane.
Yeah, and look at CM. CM's already level 3. That's one of the things about Crystal Maiden. She just gains levels ridiculously fast as a support, and it's very difficult to keep that down. But it looks like actually Vici is ahead in terms of levels right now. FY doing a double pull right now, and Chen just farming up already level 3.5 with the help of the Wildkin.
I am impressed as hell with YYF here. He's already gotten to level 3.5. This is a big problem for Vici, and this should have been a lane where yes, they didn't want to commit the Chen, and I talked about that. That's the trade-off that they make and say, well, maybe they won't want to send the Chen. They simply shoved way too hard. He ended up eating 2 to 3 waves up under his own tower. For this to be a solo lane Nyx Assassin against the kill potential of a Shadow Demon plus a Life Stealer with Carapace, not skilled at level 1, it really is a problem that he is as far ahead as he is based on the situation he was thrown into.
Yeah, those GG branches save lives too.
Yeah,
so
good point.
It's not all about the Style Shield.
And Ferrari, he's sitting at about level 4.5. A little bit of an advantage there for mid on Super. He's looking for a quick 6, obviously. Bottle plus a null talisman's up and looking to be in good shape. We'll see if this smoke's going to be used by Banana. As of now, it's just him kind of hanging out. And it looks like, Hal's doing okay up here. 15 CS. He's near the top of the board. Lifestealer right with him, though, at 16.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, relatively passive early game, at least from the Vici supports. We've seen Fenrir and FY go all out aggression, but this time they seem very content to just farm up after a couple failed kill attempts on YYF. We see Dragonite Haste Rune, and he will get the Illusion Rune. That's the thing about rune control in mid. If you get the first one, you're most likely to get a second one.
Oh, ROTK missed. He missed with his Timber Chain, and he's dead because of it. Oh, he whiffed on it. It came to about right here. I got there just in time to see it. I could tell looking at the mini-map that there was going to be an engagement. He was close enough to the trees. I didn't feel too urgent moving the camera. Sure, I'm glad I did. He just whiffed on it, and just like that, we've got a couple of kills on the board. Visage and Luna, probably the 2 best heroes to be notching those kills at this stage, and Fenrir are going to try to get some payback as he's moving around the tier 1. They're going to try to dive YYF.
He has to die. There's no way they should have a try lane in their safe lane and let YYF get boots already and not die. And he even has some CS.
Yeah, he's almost a level 4, man. It's not just that he didn't die. He's on par with supports. He's on par like Faith. He's higher level than Faith roughly. Yeah, he's right. He's exactly the same level as Faith. And Faith has been involved in 2 kills. That's what they've given him in this offlane.
Yeah, and he's about to get a huge wave of experience. I think he senses the gank coming too. Yep. But he needs to hide in the fog over here if he doesn't want to die. And he's in the fog right now. They need to play some Reservoir Ward back here if they want to get him. They don't actually know that YYF is there. Oh, now they know.
Oh, a little slow reaction there from YYF. He's going to spin the Impale right into an enemy and, of course, raging through it. And here comes the reaction. There's a disruption. We've got Banana there to try and help out, eating a lot of damage. That'll be the kill, but they might give a couple away. Siler going to be turned around on. Here comes Storm. Ferrari's there. There's a Vortex on the Faith. Good Impale on the Super. Picking him off, and now VG hurting badly. They're going to lose Fenrir just like that. 5-1. I wonder how well Nyx is doing now. Hell yeah, he's almost level 5.
Yep, and he has survived. YYF. He's drawing so much aggression from Vici too. He's like the space creator by not actually doing anything. And usually you want your solo offlane to be someone who can survive. But if you can survive with a melee hero with a 0.6 second spike Carapace, then by all means, he can get away with it. And FY dies too.
Yeah, they just caught him in mid. Just walked up and killed him. Really no other way to say it. And
Vici seems off their game, though.
Oh, man. They really do. And we're going to see action up here. I just want to point out the Nyx Assassin as of right now. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, he's the same level as the Timbersaw. The Timbersaw, much more equipped to deal with this. He's higher level than Banana. He's a full level ahead of Banana, who's on a jungle Crystal Maiden. That's just the way this game has gone. And, yeah, far be it for me to ever question the offlane Nyx again. I'll keep my mouth shut.
6.79.
Shown up.
The early nighttime, he can just chill. If it were daytime there, he would have died. Or they would have been able to scout him out, way easier. And, YYF just adapting pretty well to the offlane 6.79 changes. And heroes that you initially think just suck ass in the offlane, they do very well, apparently.
Well, I'll tell you what really made it there, and I think you called it flat out. We saw him pull back. I almost wonder if that was half of a bait, because he pulled back like he knew it was coming, And then the moment...
He did know it was coming.
Well, but then the moment the Chincrete showed its face, immediately big reactions from everywhere. I think that he may have come forward just enough to bait that out because, like, if he knew, then obviously his team knew. And it wasn't just like, oh, look, he's in trouble. Let's send one or two or who can go. It wasn't that kind of a situation.
It was his whole team.
Yeah, so I really think he may have baited that out and baited it beautifully while we're at it. Siler trying to farm his way back to relevancy. He's at 38 CS, so he's near the top. So is the Storm. So, I mean...
This tower is just going to melt.
Yeah. And Vici isn't even 6. Imagine if Fate was 6 right now.
The gold and the experience graph, they're all very, very even right now. Experience actually in favor of Vici right now, and gold earned slightly in favor of IG. There's a ROTK bro.
Yep. They have so much burst, it's silly. Like bursting down a Timbersaw like that, and this is a nice lineup to deal with that Timbersaw, by the way. We didn't even really touch on that. But, I mean, Timbersaw, obviously, with reactive armor, he's going to survive fairly well against the Luna until you say, oh, how about we hit you with a Lucid Beam, a Soul Assumption, a Frostbite, a Nova, a Breathe Fire, and a Partridge in a Pear Tree, and see how you deal with that.
I think it's not only good for ROTK, but it's also good for Storm Sphere. We've seen Super just absolutely snowball on Storm, and having hard disables versus him, especially targeted ones that he can't dodge, like DK stun, it's very important and able to lock him down. Once you get him with one, he should be dead. Follow it with the Nyx Assassin stun, and then the Lucent Beam and Soul Assumption that you were talking about, and he is just dead. So it looks like tower count's still fairly even. Vici is not behind it by the metrics, at all, but the problem is they're just not getting that much done with their supports. Looking to change that right now. Here's a smoke incoming, level 8 Super, level 5 FY, and level 5 Fenrir.
Here we go. Jump on the Faith. That should just about be that. So a nice return kill. And he was actually dominating, so that's a very nice infusion of gold going to Storm Spirit. Ferrari's going to show back up.
It's no way too sexy vision, though. He would have had point booster.
Exactly. Dude, a Hyperstone. Would have had a 9-minute Hyperstone. That's what way too sexy does. Dude,
look at his. He actually does have like 2/3 of his mech.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, Visage is just a hard farmer, man. People aren't buying Midas. They're spending their early game money on stuff they should be buying. Mid-game items.
Yes, still in favor of Vici, though. 51 last is for Lifestealer, 47 for the Storm, and behind that we see Ferrari 430 on the Dragon Eye. Looks like there's a smoke from behind, though. It is a very compromising position for ROTK. YYF spotted out. There you go. Impale spitting. Yeah, I'll tell you what we're starting to see Nyxes do. They're starting to just not care about level 1 Vendetta. He did not care at all.
No, like they're just like, they would rather land the Impale. And here we go. Nyx bomb
with
up.
The patch.
Yeah, no, that's what. Yeah, 100%, because it used to be guaranteed.
They can't go on DK. Look at his HP, 1271 with 16 armor. If they go on Ferrari, they are just going to all melt. So I don't exactly know what Vici's plan is here, but it should not be to go on Ferrari. That's like the worst possible thing they can do.
Super is struggling mightily. Still have the levels up. I just want to point out, Nyx is tied for highest level in the game. YYF. Yeah, like I said.
They might jump YYF, though. He's looking for it across the river, and they have the Observer Ward to spot him out, but they know it's too risky. Lifestealer's been sitting in there for way too long, though. Look at his items. Just Phase and Bracer at this point. There's a 5-man smoke coming around.
And they got to make something happen. They know it, too. Like you said, by the metrics, like experience dead even. The gold, not too bad. It's all about composition.
Look how scared they are. Look at how he knows that something's up, and he's just like not even farming at the tower, even with his whole team right there. So they ping it out. They know the smoking is coming, and IG's awareness is very good. YYF trying to scout it out. Do they have a Sentry Ward or a Reservoir Ward or a Dust or something? I don't think so.
Given the okie doke, Banana gonna be the unlucky target. No, they're gonna go on Ferrari. Here we go. Chakram goes out. Counter initiation coming out. Soul Assumption's there. Super just blown up. Hand of God will be spent, but here comes the Eclipse. Faith ends up getting stunned out, and Siler gonna be sent running. 2 for 1 the trade so far. Hal will be able to pursue him out, and there's gonna be Siler as the Visage Familiars finish him up. Just like that, 4 down. Likely to be 5 coming up in just a moment. And yep. That's a full wipe.
You cannot initiate on Ferrari. Oh,
no.
My goodness. I just elaborated like twice. Okay, you cannot go on Ferrari. You cannot go on Ferrari. Boom, go on Ferrari, and they just get wrecked. He had an Invis rune too, but they have to have sentries versus a Nyx Assassin. That's absolutely unacceptable for Fenrir and FY to be completely sentryless.
There are some very unhappy people that are worrying about their rares at the moment. And the thing is, I'm not saying they bet wrong. Like, this should be a close series. This is just an example of a very good team playing a very good team, and the first very good team getting a huge lead due to a couple of small mistakes, one of which, as you said, just their target for initiation just Not the best.
Well, they also
Not the
need to
best.
roam around together as Shadow Demon and Chen. Like, if Shadow Demon had waited for Chen to pick up a creep at level 1 when he had his invis, they would have got an easy kill. They almost got a kill without a Chen. So even one right click from Chen would have been a certain kill on YOF and would have certainly hindered his level 6. Look at him right now. He's level 9. And what did Chen do in the process? Farm up a headdress and a Bazzi and get level 7? That's not worth it, right?
Right.
You want to just sacrifice a little bit of farm on Chen in order to keep YYF down, and letting YYF survive like that. And I mean, it may seem like a small deal. Oh, whatever, they just missed a couple of kills on him, but it's leading to very drastic effects 12 minutes into the game right now.
Oh no, it's like, to me, it's
Faith is going to get picked off again.
Yep. Already has his mech up though. He had just bought the recipe, so cleaned up, but spent his gold for the most part. Super. Trying to bounce back as best he can. Not the best game for him. He's sitting at 0-2. He has been involved in a couple of kills, though, so not the end of the world. 0-5 on poor ROTK's Timbersaw, and it might be 0-6. It will be. Vendetta spent that time. He's going to Timber Chain away to that lone tree. Here comes Crystal Maiden. She's going to try to catch him, and will. Caught him midst Timber Chain, as did Hal with the Lucid Beam. And that's going to be 0-6 on him. You just can't have a Timbersaw have this poor of a performance and hope to have success in the mid game. It's just not going to work. The hero is way too high value, and you have to get mileage out of him based on what you give him. And so far, IG just continuing to roll this game up and make it theirs.
Yeah, Vici though trying to counter by some split push, but they are 4 strong on the left side. And we talked about Ferrari and how difficult he is to kill, but what about Hao too?
Oh, yeah.
Hao has drums, he has Aquila, he has phase boost, he has Ogre Club 2, well on his way to BKB, 1200 HP, and if they focus Ferrari, they let Hao go free, but if they focus, like, you can't focus both of them at the same time. They don't have enough damage. It's very single target-ish.
Siler and Fenrir best be getting out of town. And there was a mass reaction. Yeah, they're going to blow a drum charge, but we saw the synth. That was actually a very good net. Ferrari.
Stun the creep. Kill those creeps. They stunned you. They stymied your kill attempt. Get something out of that drum charge.
Ferrari with a bonus move speed would have been the one to run them down if anyone could have. So very nice net there from the Dark Troll Summoner to bring that to an end, or stymie it. I like that word. You use it quite frequently, and it makes me happy every time you do. They're just going to push bottom now. They're just like, it's fine. So we can push
I'll start using thwart.
Thwart. Very nice.
Thwart.
And
yeah, now the towers are starting to fall. Vici has to get some towers in response, but are they going to be able to do so? I doubt it. We see Banana and YYF already rotating mid. They don't have sentries up versus a Nyx Assassin. That is just support role like number 1. You have to have that.
no glyph up. This mid tower taking some damage.
He has a blink dagger.
Here we go. And he's going to show it off. Got 2 with that impale face there. Soul Assumption actually disrupted away. So nice play there from our Shadow Demon to bail his buddy out of a lot of damage, FY, with the solid disruption. They do get the tower, but it cost them a tier 1 of their own. But at least they did.
One on top.
Yep. See, ROTK could definitely use a little bit of gold. There's no real reaction coming.
Looking for super. They need a TP ASAP.
And here comes someone in. That's going to be Hal, and they're going to jump right onto him. There's the Eclipse, and in comes YYF. Stuns out Super, blows him up. ROTK hit with the Lucent Beam, has a Timber Chain up. Don't think it's going to be enough, though. Throws out the Chakram and stun. What a great reaction out of YYF. The Carapace could not have been 10 milliseconds in front of that Chakram. Just seeing him turn around, the immediate reaction to get the Carapace off. 16-4, and they deny that tower.
Yeah, I think MVP this game has to go to YYF, though, with his great awareness on bottom and then being able to form an Arcane Blink as a solo Nyx and already level 11 too, and getting really key stuns on Storm Spirit. He's just playing phenomenally. 0-3 and 2 on Super. Super, like, I think that his Storm Spirit is almost ban-worthy, and IG are just absolutely manhandling him.
Yeah, they've basically neutered it. He feels completely ineffective. And part of it is his own fault, if we're to be honest. IG's positioning and movement is making it very difficult for him to have opportunities, but even when he does, he makes some mistakes. We've seen him make a couple of mistakes. Jumping Ferrari, for example. Going in there with no way to deal with a Nyx Assassin, no way to even know if he's around. As you mentioned, no sentries, no awareness as to his positioning. And they got to take chances at this point. But again, the funny thing is the metrics tell you they're not that far behind. But so for everyone watching at home, you're wondering why we sound so fatalistic. It's all about composition. And a good example is Chen. We talk all the time.
And momentum.
Yeah, does it feel like a Chen game? It sure doesn't to me. Fenrir has been completely ineffective. I have not felt his influence on the map at all.
He has a mech, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, Visage has a mech. He's had one for a while. They're going to go ahead and take this Roshan, and I don't know if they can do anything about it.
The supports just really have to stick together. We see Banana and Faith stick together. When Faith isn't together with him, he gets picked off. Or I guess Banana would probably die like if he were there with them. But when they're playing offensively or reacting to ganks, they're always together. And they really just had to do that with Vici too. Just like Shadow Demon disrupt into anything pretty much. Like even a roaming Pod would have been better than this Shen because there's just not really that much synergy there. Like in the mid game. In the early game, there's a ton of synergy. Like just being able to set up for like a Hellbear Smasher or a Centaur, or just closing the distance with 2 range heroes with Disrupt is pretty useful in itself, but not using that at all. Instead, choosing to farm up and leading to this sort of mid game is just not the ideal way to lose a Chen, and their efficacy is going to start to be reduced heavily. Like it's already reduced.
Yeah, like it's gotten to the point. YYF has actually picked up a staff of wizardry. I hope he
Shadow Demon Hand of Midas recipe. Come back,
really?
City.
Oh man. Really? FY? That's what we need? That's what we need, buddy.
That's how you come back, man. That's how LGDM beat IG 2-0. Midas on supports.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if it's enough to put him over the top. Hal continues to find his farm. His BKB is going to be done here in a couple of stacks, so he's going to feel survivable. Banana making the more wise support decision, filling out his inventory with mid-game items like a medallion and urn, as well as picking up the wards and his magic wand and tranks. But I mean, and that's really what we're beginning to see. We take a look at the net worth. We can just see the cream rising to the top, so to speak. Hal and Ferrari both near the top where they need to be. The Lifestealer's in range. He's gone with Drums phase, and most likely will be getting himself a armlet, though we did see a Helm of the Dominator Lifestealer just the other day. But yep, there's the armlet done. So he's in range, but they're going to need so much out of him, and it's just so hard to play with your Timber in particular. Their Timber just has nothing. Point booster, bracer, and arc boost.
I like the builds coming out from Hal too. We see too many Lunas just rush straight up BKB, and then they lose the 5-man, and then they lose the game because it just doesn't do that much. So, like, if you think the 5-man's going to be delayed, which it certainly has been this game, then you can get away with an early farming build and early fighting build, and then later on you farm the magic community item when you want to force a 5-on-5 after you get the Aegis. And I think the timing of his item build is just really good too. We don't see phase that often, but Luna's one of the fastest heroes in the game, and if you get a Drums on her too, she has 398 without even phasing.
Yep. And I agree with you completely. And I think you said it about as succinctly as you could. It's a lot of times that's just what you see. Luna rushes the BKB, goes, "Okay, I'm ready to fight." Then she loses, and then she loses Roshan and 2 tier 2 towers. She's like, "Oh, I'm out of room to farm, so no damage ever."
Damage.
Yeah, no damage ever for me.
Yeah, she has plus 98 damage right now, so she's sitting at a very respectable 200 damage with, like, seemingly just early game items. And the Drums, it may seem like a really small thing, but 5% or like 15% for fights is a really big deal. Wow, I have with a big engage.
Beacon up, BKB's up. There's the Eclipse. We're going to have all that damage spread out, and just look at them melt. There's a disruption to try and let IG get back into better position, but IG just flat out running them out. Fenrir picked off with a Soul Assumption, and the freezing field onto FY, not enough to stop him. The Familiars got there just a little too late, so...
Why are they fighting without Sylar?
Yeah, IG taking 2 more kills, and they, like, honestly, this is becoming a situation. They may feel comfortable pushing through not just to a tier 2, but even to pressure a tier 3 if they want to. Like, it's...
I think they could. As long as they can just burst through the chakra or something like that. I think that's like the main thing that's stopping them right now. They're not yet quite strong enough. Dragon Knight almost has his Shadow Blade, so they can just get complete map control right now. Just gank with Nyx Assassin, gank with Ferrari. Their supports are too poor and too careless to actually lay sentries around the map. So I think that if Storm Spirit or Lifestealer tries to farm, they're just gonna keep on dying. But it's not it's a little bit too early. They have a pretty solid gold lead, but 3,000 right now, that's actually not as much as I expected it to.
Barely Super dodges
So
the Impale, and that probably would have been a kill. Super so horrendously underfarmed. I didn't actually check his mana pool before that.
He has Orchid and a gem, so Storm Spirit's actually recovered quite nicely from the 0-3 start.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't even notice he had the Orchid, so most definitely wouldn't have been a kill, but still would have been very, very annoying and maybe bought time for his team to track him down. As it stands, I mean, they are keeping it reasonable. This is mid-game and reasonable. I've been using that phrase a lot lately. Hanging right around 5,000 gold advantage going the way of IG. Certainly not the hole you want to be in, but not something insurmountable, not something that you can consider to be a game over kind of a moment.
Yeah, and tower kills are even, and if you exclude the Roshan, the gold difference from just farming kills is only 3,000, which is pretty small actually. I'm surprised that IG doesn't have a bigger lead. I mean, it's not like How is underfarmed either, or Dragon Knight either. They have like Shadowblade and BKB, but Vici managing to split. Oh, this is going to be bad.
Here we go, 3 jumped out. We're going to see 1 bursted down. Aegis is gone. Coming back off this, they're going to try to fight. BKB up on Ferrari, trying to make a run for it. Here comes the reinitiation out of IG. Super bursted down. Here comes ROTK. Hand of God used, but it doesn't look like it'll be enough. Finrear drops. Now the counter and turn on Siler. ROTK next on the list. The fact that they fed 4 for 1 there, make it 5. The Impale there in time. Total team wipe, and all they got
the
was...
Aegis though, right?
Yeah, DK and an Aegis, I guess.
It was a good move by them, though.
Oh, no, they had to do it.
Yeah, if there were only 2 people right there, DK and the Luda, they would have both died, and probably died twice. And just a really good reaction from IG. If this tower weren't there, I think that Vici could have gotten back in the game. And sometimes when you're this far behind, you just have to take big risks like that. Yep. So it wasn't a bad play by any moves. It was just good reaction from IG. And yeah, it's just a Hail Mary from them.
Yep, you made the point exactly as what I was going to make. I would have loved it a lot more if that tower wasn't there. If you're going to gank into that area with that tower there, it seems to me it makes a lot more sense to go through the jungle and come up the stairs. And granted, you're going up blind, but at least your team's behind you and you have a much better retreat angle. You engage coming up with the old end around like this, there's nowhere for you to go. And that's exactly what we saw happen. IG just landed in the reinforcements, and after that, it was all she wrote. 5-23, and IG flat out running away with game 1. And yeah, that once much more tame gold graph is getting out of control. They're near 5-digit lead in terms of gold. The experience is actually well into 5 digits. 14,000 experience points is how big a lead IG has in terms of levels.
This is getting ugly.
Uh-oh.
And, they have a Sentry Ward. What?
Yep, Ferrari showing his face. They're scared to fight him. Here comes the rest of IG, and yeah, we can understand why they're scared to fight. ROTK being pursued out by Hal. Chakram's there, and he pops the Eclipse, uses the Lucid Beam to stun him, and Super almost ends up dead there, but ROTK will end up cleaned up, and behind that, the rest of IG just sweeping up shop. So even though Super...
GG soon. Like, yeah. Vici must be so demoralized right now, and it hurts. It hurts when you go into game 2 and you just got like absolutely wrecked. Like, this is just brutal. 26-5. Most teams would have GG'd out by now, and I'm surprised that they haven't. I guess they still have a small chance, so they don't want to give up early. But if I were in their shoes, I'd just be like, well, let's just go to game 2. Let's rethink what we want to do. Siler getting picked off on top.
You know, there's an excellent point. Can they burst him? They can. Yep, got him before he could TP out. Well, there it is, GG. So, I mean, what do you say? 27-5, and these teams on paper, I mean, and hell, not just on paper, by the eyeball test, by what we've seen out of both of them in our Eastern Division, by every measurement system you can use, very close, but IG made it look not so close, to put it mildly. They take a very quick game 1 win. And, you know, Merlini, this is the kind of thing just to prove the point. Dota is such a game of small advantages that become big advantages. I want you to think of how different this game might have looked if they had managed to kill YYF whenever they dove him that first time, or if they had managed to get the open wounds and they were going to dive in the second time. Because they didn't, Chen felt pressure to rotate over to try and make that dive happen. So they overcommit to that. IG collapses, gets a 4-1 or 5-1 lead off of that. From that point, never looked back. So just little things. The fact that YYF was managed to keep himself alive, that VG could not get that kill initially. Not saying this game is completely based on that one little bit, but I feel like that was the moment when VG got behind, and they certainly never had a chance to claw their way back in.
I think a bigger problem is that Vici is starting to get a little bit predictable, right? They just leave ROTK off the supper, which no help from him, for like the first 10 minutes of the game. They try and either secure the lane for Super or for Siler, and those two supports tend to rotate around together. So if you see Shadow Demon, you should also be scared of Chen too. And they just have to vary up the playstyle, like go offensive with Chen, sometimes help out ROTK, maybe sometimes dump a Storm Spirit in the safe lane. Just be less predictable and throw IG for a loop, because they certainly did not that game.
No joke, 1-10 on poor ROTK's Timber. And what can you say? Even Super, who you and I have been singing his praises for weeks now. I mean, he just got run over. Never had a chance in this game. On the other side, we see 6 and 16. So of the 27 kills IG notched, they had their carry involved in 22 of them. That in and of itself is a huge number. Finished the game 577 GPM, 658 XP per minute. Game 1's in the books. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers, the voice you hear on the other line. That's Ben Merlini Wu. And yeah, right now, IG looking very, very strong. You can follow both of us, by the way, right there on our relative Twitters. We'll do more of the plugging and such like that. But keep in mind, this is a match with a lot at stake. And like you said, Ben, this has to be so demoralizing. I mean, if Vici's able to get a win here, somehow claw back in, get a game 2 win, and push it to 3, they can leapfrog, not just from 4th to 3rd, but 4th to 2nd if they manage to beat Rattlesnake tomorrow, which, I mean, to be honest, that they're heavily favored there. IG, though, they're playing for the same second-place seeding and can put themselves that much closer to qualifying along with LGD.